Welcome to Feng Shui for Fondue. This is our monthly inspirational about self-politics and just kind of politics of word, food, and the self. Today's topic is I am Selkie. This was a concept I came up with. It's a saying I use a lot. I figured, why don't I just start these inspirationals for this? These will be done once a month, first Sunday of the month at 9 a.m. I'll put them up. And they're all kind of, I script them, but they are kind of free flow. The more is my conversation to you about a couple concepts or places my mind is in the prior month to writing this. So bear with me because I am straight up reading what I wrote as well as kind of adding some stuff as I go along. So let's just get started with I am Selkie. I am Selkie. Of course, I don't mean in the literal sense of belief, but figuratively. Have you ever missed a place so much, a place where you lived, that it physically hurts? When you finally return to that place, the pain subsides, only to be replaced by the hole left by the location you moved from. Wanting to be on dry land when you are in the sea, but in the sea when you are landbound? For those who don't know what a Selkie is, it's a mythical creature from Ireland that lives half its life as a seal in the water, and the other half as a human on land. It craves the other when it isn't there. For that, I am a Selkie. When I lived in Minneapolis, I missed so much the country, fruit stands, the smell of nature, the peace that came from it and the stars above. I missed the food and family and the friends I left in my home area. I missed Lake Michigan. I missed bonfires. I missed home. I missed so much that it actually hurt. But when I moved back, something strange happened. I started missing the city. I missed Juicy Lucy's and Poutine. I missed my friends there and even the stores I shopped at. The same hole that was left empty from my hometown was now left from a city I loved. I am a Selkie. This analogy really can be driven home in that I think we all have that one myth, that once mystical creature we relate to. Some of us emphasize with the nocturnal vampires, ever avoiding the light. Some of us relate to the innocence and naivety of unicorns, or the nature of the chimera. I'm sure there are even some of us who relate to the Gorgon, afraid to let those who we love close lest we lose them to ourselves. But me, I am a Selkie. It can be therapeutic to think of these concepts, divulge in the thought game, that what mythical creature do you relate to? Understand that we tend to think of the negatives when we compare us to them. We can also use this to learn about our strengths. A vampire may be nocturnal, and you may also see yourself as feeding off those around you. But they are also noble and mannered, and many times charismatic. A unicorn may have that naivety, but as mentioned, is also pure and purposeful, a blessing and a good omen for those who see it. With me being Selkie, I have to deal with my indecision, my constant fighting with myself to know what I want and not turn around and say this was a mistake. But also lets me use those lessons I learned from sea and land to help me face troubles with a more varied tool set. I'm a Selkie, and this is okay. On to one more thought. Words have meaning. Now, I'm going to do a few thoughts in these going forward, just to let you know. They're all just kind of concepts I was pondering. I have one more topic for today. Words have meaning. Some of you will look at this title and wonder why I chose a salad of words to represent my talking about inspiration and the politics of food, words, and self. But these words even have meaning. There's a story I will tell in the future about it, but for now, I will divulge a little bit behind what I mean by this. I call Feng Shui for Fondue a political segment when it's more meant as an inspirational. This is a term I chose not to use due to its connotation with religion I grew up in, and my want for this to be secular and my separation from that belief system. The juxtaposition of the two ideas, Feng Shui and Fondue, really bring home what this concept is. by wanting to follow the idea of Tao and apply the thought and flow into a melting pot of mind and ideal. This comes from the concept that we are made of what we put into our body and what we let flow out of our body. That, what we add to the world, we also add to ourselves. This title is more of contemplation of this, an idea that as evolved with me. Sorry about that. An idea that has evolved with me over the years. My Tao leading me to this melting pot of ideas that make up the what of who I am. A final contemplation. Be kind to all those above and below. You will hear me talk about the ladder theory a lot. Seriously, it will be a lot. That when we look up, we see crap. Or when we look down. Pardon me, I got that backwards. When we look down, we will see crap. When we look up, we see holes. I'm not cussing. I'm purposely not cussing in this. This is toxic. These are negative thoughts that we bring into ourselves. What we need to be, or what we need to truly be, is kind. I'm not saying be passive, but understand those that you approach, even if it is in anger. Let go of that anger when you can. Holding on to anger is like taking poison, hoping that someone else dies from it. It corrupts ourselves. It limits us. Instead, be kind. Look at those below us and help raise them up. Look at those above us and seek kindness. If none is to be had, understand why and try to fix what you can. We need to be the change in the world if it is to happen. And this is where I was going to end things, but reading the words, I think I kind of do want to tell the story behind the name. I think it would be a good idea for the first official Feng Shui for Fondue. So, when I was younger, we're talking about late teens, early 20s. You know, mind you, I'm in my late 30s now. I was a lot more of a problematic person. I will straight up say I had a lot of problematicism to who I was, and part of growing is to accept that and change it, or fix those issues. But I grew up in a Seventh-day Adventist background. You know, that was the religion mentioned earlier. But didn't really find myself in it. And my belief of religion is, if you have one, that's great. If you don't, that's great. You know, but if it's your path that you feel is right, follow it, you know, as long as you hurt no one. But at the time, I mean, this had to be early 2000s. You know, we just coming out of the 90s. A lot of people were obsessed with trends of home Feng Shui as well as fondue parties. It was two big things you heard a lot of rich people do. And so my sister and I, in the worst problematic version of ourselves, decided we wanted to work on a book project. Mind you, at the time I was trying to do music as a career. We wanted to work on a book project called Feng Shui for Fondue, not knowing that name would stick with me through all these years. The idea was applying Feng Shui concepts to fondue parties, and it'd come with a fondue kit and everything else. It was a dumb idea, but one that was definitely from a more capitalistic mind of mine, from a more problematic age. Through the years after that point, I kind of went on my own search for self and realized that the world I was living in, politically, spiritually, all of that, wasn't who I was. And you know, I started really getting into studying Buddhism and studying specifically Chan Buddhism, and finding that that lined up with what I personally believed, and my phone is being loud, sorry y'all, what I personally believed on a core level. This core level really started seeping into my life, and as I proceeded further, you know, I realized how dumb of an idea this 19, 20-year-old me came up with my sister. But I think those words started to form a lot more of an iteration within myself of what they were. I look at them now, and where I was at that point, we're talking about maybe mid to late 20s. So almost a decade after the concept was there, this one first came back to my mind. I was about to come out. I came out when I was 29. And I think it was honestly Buddhism that allowed me to come out. I'm not using this as a evangelizing of Buddhism in any way. I mean, as I said, religion needs to be, and spirituality and all that needs to be up to the person. It's a private and personal thing. But that being said, Chan Buddhism finds a lot within itself from the Tao. So it helped me come out. It helped me be who I am with letting go of my ego. Like the fear of not being pretty, the fear of not being accepted, popular, or whatever, all came to mind when I came out. And that's ego, that's pain, or that's ego that causes pain, I should say. So me finding this belief helped me deal with that part of myself, and at the core, that's what belief is a way for you to understand the world around you. So move forward, maybe another couple of years. We're talking about my, let's see, early 30s. We're talking about 31, 32 maybe. I moved up to Minneapolis. And I love that city. I love where I'm at now too. Like, two unique places that are completely opposite each other, and I love them. As I said, the whole concept of a Selkie. I find comfort in one, but I hurt for the other. But in it, I started getting more into cheese. I started really getting into cheese culture. And I had more friends who were Buddhist and who did understand the Tao and brought in those Feng Shui concepts and Tao concepts into their beliefs. Zen Buddhists and Chan Buddhists and Dormo Buddhists, all that, which pretty much are similar veins, just different evolutions of the concept. So I got to really talk with some people who were from the same mindset of me, same beliefs as me, and I started seeing a commonality between my beliefs, between my love of language, and between cheese. If you don't know, cheese is an oddly political food. So to digress here, cheese basically, a lot of recipes and names only can come from certain regions. If it's similar, it can't be labeled. Like, for instance, a Gruyere can't be labeled a Gruyere unless it comes from a specific region. And there's a lot of jokes about that and memes about that on the internet, but I digress. But there's like a political culture to it, and with a lot of votes going on, coming out, and all that stuff, being out, I started understanding kind of a lot more political nature of words and their origins, especially. Like, talk about the origination of certain language factors, phrases and stuff. Making a connection. I started doing it with more foods too. The idea that we, importing tomatoes versus buying ripened versus buying hydroponic, which I buy almost solely hydroponic, but that's from a flavor perspective. And like what does that mean? I had a lot of vegan friends, and conversations about factory farming. I work at a co-op, so I start understanding the politics of food. At the same time, I started experiencing the politics of language, and that's where the connections were made. And it hit me. It was just like that fondue pot, the melting of concepts and using them to layer them over yourself. And, this isn't meant to be a left versus right concept. It's introspective. Mix that with, my learnings, or what I was learning spiritually about governing oneself. And I started thinking back to that title, that problematic title my sister and I came up with. That title became something new to me. The concept of self-governance, self-politics, especially what we bring into our body and what we let leave our body. Hence why I use the phrase Feng Shui for fondue for the channel, or for the videos. I hope you found that story interesting. Honestly, I was going to save it for a different video, but after reading through the things, I felt like it was about the right time. I hope you look forward to the next one. I want these to be kind of podcast-ish, but hence why we have a solid, just still image on the background. But, I want to also remind you all, I love you all. I love that you came in here, listen. And to be honest, I love the uniqueness of just human culture, period. We have so much to learn from each other. I'm hoping I could just put my energy into the world, or my positive energy into the world, for y'all to learn from my experiences even. Again, I love you all, and y'all have a good day.